Oh, you want this off, right?
Okay. This is not sausage and tortellini soup. This is you are live.
Hi. Hello, I'm Sarah, and it's Christmas cookie season, so I'm making Christmas cookies today. We're gonna do a Cranberry-Pistachio Biscotti. This recipe is not mine. I actually got this years ago, and we've been making it for a while. And it is by someone named Jerry Meyer, and it is available at All Recipes. Seth, my lovely producer / assistant, all things, is gonna put like a link in the comments so you can see the recipe and see the ratios and all of that, but we'll walk through it obviously. So it starts with some sugar. This is great, like you don't even need a mixer for this one, which is another thing. You can just do this by hand. Quarter cup of oil. The recipe calls for a light olive oil, which would be great. I don't have it. I just have like a robust olive oil. I didn't want to use that for this. So this is just vegetable oil. So you can sub vegetable or canola or whatever. You're gonna mix, and it's just gonna get sandy. It won't dissolve right now, but it will, because we're gonna add a little bit more liquid, so it'll be fine. But yeah, that's why it's super easy, is that you're just not creaming butter and sugar, you're just gonna whisk things. So next up we have extracts, and this is both vanilla and almond, and the almond is so good. Obviously, you know, this also has nuts in it. It's making me think of that. And if you are allergic, you can just swap anything in. But the pistachio and cranberries are nice because it's red and green. I mean, it tastes great too, but it feels like a good Christmas cookie. Okay, so that's well mixed, but we're going to actually get it to dissolve with the addition of eggs. And often you want to do eggs one at a time, but in this case, we're really trying to get the sugar dissolved so you can do it all at once, which is nice. This might seem like an unusual pick for a video, and it is, because biscotti, you specifically need to bake it and then let it cool a little bit, and then you slice it, and then you bake that again to get that crunchy texture that's like, you know, it's good on its own. It's great for dipping in coffee or tea or whatever, so it's kind of long, and I'm not gonna take your time for that. So we're gonna have the weirdest magic of television swap, where I'm gonna show you a variation of this recipe as the stage where you're gonna slice. So you're gonna also see a chocolate-almond version where I made the dough chocolate as well. So they're not gonna look anything alike, but you'll get what you're supposed to do. Okay, so if you can see that, if we're overhead, now our sugar is really dissolving because we've added extracts with the oil and egg. And so this looks good. It's gonna be a little grainy, but it's not like that wet sand anymore. So then we're gonna do our dry ingredients. We're going to take a moment, just in case people need, to see about measuring flour. It's one of those things that Americans are the outliers in the world where we're not in the metric system, and we tend to cook by volume, meaning like cup and tablespoon, and it's, you know, it's not as exact as doing by weight, but because we're doing by volume, there are ways that you can get a more consistent baked good, and that's by spooning and leveling. So instead of jamming your cup into your container or your bag of flour or whatever, which can really pack it in, and you can have like a quarter cup more flour than the recipe really intends, you want to just like dump it in and then level it off. So it's usually called spoon and level. If you ever see that in a recipe, that's what they're talking about. And that way you're filling the cup, you're getting the volume of a cup of flour, but you're not like jamming it in there, so that end up, you know, a little bit dry. This one calls for 1 3/4 cups, so we'll review because we have to. But yeah, you'll end up with things that are a lot more tender and reproducible. I mean, I'm never going to get exact ounces if I do even this again, but it is much better than just like packing it in. You know, like brown sugar, pack it in. That's what they want you to do. It's moist, you know, get that in there. But, you know, flour can really change the consistency of your baked good. So now we got all of our flour that we need for this recipe. I'll put this, like that. I'm gonna put this away. And then there is just a little salt. You know, you wanna have a salt in there. And the leavener is baking powder. So that's all that is. Ooh, and that timer is the batch that I wanna show you so that we can see how you slice it. Do you mind getting them out? Sending my assistant to do it. All right, we're combining our dry goods just so that the leavener is really mixed in. And then this just goes in, and again, you don't need any mixer because you can do this part by hand as well. So it comes together really, really fast. I really like this recipe. It's not very sweet. You know, it's 3/4 cup of sugar. And that's great because it's, you know, I like the flavor of the mix-ins, the cranberry and the pistachio, but it's also nice that, you know, it gives you that good texture because you don't have like a ton of sugar. Oh, I'm dropping things. You know, and also if you add a sweet mix-in, or if you decide that you want to dip it in chocolate or white chocolate or do a glaze or something, it takes that really well because it's not going to be this cloying sweet thing. So that's a nice thing. But I did make one change. I did think that the recipe initially called for a 1/2 cup of cranberries and 1.5 cups pistachios. And like, nothing wrong with it, do you? For my money, I wanted a little bit more cranberry and a little bit less nut. So I have taken this to 3/4 cup each. So we're gonna mix this. You're gonna get a real sticky dough that you're gonna form into these 2 logs that you'll bake. Oh, do you wanna bring that out here? Then they can see what it looks like, the other one?
Oh, yeah.
I have a rack for you. So you'll see what these little logs are that we're gonna go to. Okay. Oh, I'm supposed to say, please comment with questions, and you can text, you can call, you know, we can talk about biscotti if you want, but like, talk about Christmas cookies, cookies in general, whatever you're going. Okay, so not the most attractive. We're just gonna deal with that. But this is the chocolate almond version, so it's a chocolate base with dark chocolate chips and slivered almonds that I toasted. And this is the stage we're gonna let it cool, but this is what we're gonna build with this dough. So these are roasted salted pistachios, but then I also toasted them because pistachios are pretty soft nut just in general. And I wanted them to have a little bit more texture in the cookie. So I toasted those as well. And then 3/4 cup dried cranberries. And then we're just gonna work it in, and it's real sticky. But this version, if you want to make a variation, this recipe is really flexible. Like, you can put in any filling you want. You know, if you're allergic to nuts, do all fruit or do fruit and chocolate or whatever. But that version is the recipe that's linked in the comment. But I took out 2 tablespoons of flour and replaced it with 2 tablespoons of cocoa powder. You know, it's not always 1-to-1, but in this case it works out great. So you get a chocolatey dough. Oh, good. Earning it. Okay, so these, at this stage, we're gonna make the logs. They're gonna bake for 35 minutes. This is what they'll look like, and we're letting them cool for 10. But this came together so fast, which is great. What we're gonna do is get our prepared sheet, and you could do this with parchment if you don't have Silpat or this OXO thing that I have, but I have it, so I'm using it. Oh, I gotta get a thing. We're just gonna eyeball. I mean, you know, you could measure. I feel like just make the season enjoyable, you know what I mean? Like just enjoy the cookie process. So I'm gonna eyeball this and make my 2 logs that are roughly a foot. Cannot recommend one of these dough blades enough. Super helpful because as you can see, I mean, this is so sticky. And it really gets it out of the pan. I mean, this is, it's half-ish, but we'll beef this one up a little bit with some of what's left in here. Okay, so the trick here, because again, this is just so sticky. We're gonna try to hide that a little bit over to the side because you're gonna see that you just like at the top where it just looks like, dough instead of beautiful topping. So this is where this water comes in handy. Get your hands wet. This is a great one for like kids to do because it's just like Play-Doh basically. And you're just gonna smash it out. There's not, you know, your finished cookie is gonna be these nice little strips that you cut. So this doesn't have to be beautiful. You're gonna get nice flat edges and everything. So, you know, get the little ones going. And if not, do it yourself and know that it's fine. So that's about right. One more. And I left the pistachios whole just because when you slice the cookies themselves, you get some like cross sections of the pistachios, but I also just like the big texture in there, but you could definitely chop those a bit because like you can see that it's pretty lumpy, but I'm fine with that. I like the texture of a chewy cranberry and a very crunchy nut and then like the crispy cookie. Okay, voila. So that's it. So like all by hand, do it in a bowl. This is gonna be all you need to do for your first bake. So I am going to transfer this. And we're gonna take a look at these guys. Has it been, so it needs to cool for 10 minutes. And I will say that the 10 minutes is like just about right. Oh, that's perfect. Because if you wait too long, you're just gonna splinter it, you know? So you want it to be a little bit soft. I'm just gonna peel this away. This will work with the parchment as well. Or you could even use foil, but obviously you need to be able to like pick it up. I'm gonna peel this one just while I can. So then we're just gonna get into some cross sections. There we go. Oh, that's so nice. But it's nice when they're a little bit soft, you'll see that you can like, they're just a little bit more, you can manipulate them. So you can choose any, like if I wanted a real long biscotti, like if you're giving them to somebody in a like nice mug, you can make some real tall ones, you know, but I'm just gonna cut, you know, it's like about 3/4 of an inch. I kind of like them about on this angle so that they're not wildly different. Important note, this first piece with just a corner, this is a snack. This is quality control. So make sure that you eat that. All right. So then you do this for both. And I will say that especially if you're using mix-ins that are large, like this is, I chopped up these chocolate chips a little bit and then there's slivered almonds. They're already kind of thin. But when you've got these chunky ingredients, I do find that and just in general with this dough, I guess, that a serrated knife really just shreds it. So I'm just using like a regular chef's knife because you're just kind of pushing through and that goes a lot better. Okay, I'm just gonna flip this because what I didn't bring was a clean Silpat, but these are gonna go back on the cookie sheet. Oh, ooh. Don't try to break them right away. Okay. So these, Seth and I make these every year. We just like them, they're different, but my cookies that are like really Christmas cookies are, my mom makes nut bars every year, and they're just, you know, it's like a press-in shortbread crust, and you like melt butterscotch chips with corn syrup. I mean, they're just they're classic. They're not highbrow, and they're the thing to me that is like, okay, it's Christmas now. It's Christmas. Like it, you know, if we're not going to get there, ooh, thank you. She'll like mail them to me. All right, we got nubbins for snacking, critical. And even more critical, we have a clean silbat. Thank you so much, Seth. So then you can see that we're gonna just bake these twice, cut side up. And well, I guess we could have been turning down our oven, but it's okay. These bake for 35 minutes at 300, the first bake. I'm just being a little bit gentle because I know these are really filled with, you know, they're just big chunks in here. This looks great. I haven't actually tried this before. This chocolate variation was just something that I was like, I want to see if it does, because we're making a lot of these. I can get a little small guy over here. But the second bake is like 8 to 10 minutes. It's kind of however crispy you want them. Maybe you'd want to go longer than that. But remember, when you're pulling them out of the oven on the second bake, they are not going to be as firm as they'll be once they cool. So if you like them very crunchy, like if you're definitely going to dip them in coffee, you know, just make sure that you're not baking them until they're so dry that they're the texture you like, because then when they cool, they'll be like jawbreakers, and you don't want that. I love that this is like a square one. I had this like nice, we don't have enough of this cell pan, quite frankly. So I'm just like fitting this in, however. But yeah, so let's get a second bake. And then, oh, you know what? There's a little plate in there, Seth, if you're not busy shooting this show. Well, you know what? We're gonna say that you get the idea. I have another square silpat, and I'll just tuck it under, and I'll put the rest of these on there. But like, this is going back in the oven for 8 to 10 minutes, maybe you want 11, whatever. And then there'll be, you know, that crunchy, crispy biscotti texture you want. But I can show you, there's a little plate in there where I kept some of the cranberry-pistachio ones. I can show you what those look like when they're done. Just because obviously this is so different from the bright logs that we made. Oh yeah, so we had made a batch already, and we decided we were gonna do this again. You can never have too many Christmas cookies. But this is what, oh right, yeah, do I angle, do I not? This is what the completed ones look like, and they're like, you know, they got a little texture to them, but they're delicious. And then you can see some red and green. They're great, and that's all there is. I mean, you have to wait 35 minutes, you have to let them cool, slice and bake again, but you're just stirring stuff together, and you can put pretty much anything you have in your pantry, you know? If you've only got coconut and pecans, like, go for it, you know? Whatever you like, put it in there, and it'll probably be fine. But that's it, and I hope you have a happy holiday and eat some cookies.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, I thought that was very clear.